Welcome to the 12 Days of Christmas, and in this episode we are going to be reviewing the French team of Renault, the team that finished in ninth place. They were doing an amazing performance this year, I would say. So let's give you some insight into Renault. Obviously, so they've been in and out of Formula 1 for absolutely ages. They've been in and out and in and out and in and out. Obviously, their amazing performance with Fernando Alonso winning his double world championships, but they were a very long time ago. Anyway, so they headed into this season. They'd taken over from Lotus, or Lotus Renault, if they were called in like 2012. That name kind of disappeared. They became Lotus. In 2014, they had a terrible season. They had financial troubles as well. It even led to people like Kimi Räikkönen leaving in 2012. So then they became Renault. The full partnership became Renault. So obviously everyone at Enstone was safe. The French manufacturer that was Lotus is now Renault. They changed the livery of the car to yellow. They have two new drivers, one new debutant, obviously GP2 world champion Jolyon Palmer, and Kevin Magnussen, who technically took a sabbatical out. Obviously, you remember he had that season with McLaren in 2014. Didn't do as he was expecting. Obviously, he didn't want the car. He was a good driver, he just didn't have the car. And then obviously he did his full season with Renault. So what was that going to be like? Really, if you like to think about it, let's just say two debutants, just to keep everything fresh and ready to go. Anyway, so they headed into Australia. Remember, the most iconic scene was the Renault floating in on that big raft. So they headed into that. Let's see what they could do. Well, they kind of did stamp their authority. Obviously, they were very safe into Q2. Then in the race, they just finished outside of the points. Kevin Magnussen finished in 12th place. Jolyon Palmer, in his very first race, finished in the worst position, which a lot of people call it, which is 11th place. The position just outside the points, which was really, really upsetting for them. The next race, Kevin Magnussen again finished in 11th, a bit like Jolyon's at that terrible position, the one where he just finished outside of the points. Jolyon Palmer did not start in Bahrain, much like Sebastian Vettel had a car failure as well, so it was really depressing from them. The third race in China, Kevin Magnussen finished in 17th place. Jolyon Palmer finished the race, but at the back of the grid in 22nd position. Then the next race, which was the fourth race in Russia at the Sochi Autodrome, Kevin Magnussen finished in 7th place. Now there we go, there's the points put on the board for both Kevin Magnussen and for Renault. That is absolutely unbelievable. So obviously they shoot past Sauber and they shoot past Manor. And they wouldn't know at that time, but they were about to stay there for the rest of the season. So that was an amazing performance by him, amazing performance at that track as well, at that circuit. Obviously Jolyon Palmer 13th, so it's getting consistent for Jolyon. It just isn't really where he wants to be. He doesn't want to be outside the points, he wants to be in the points, but thankfully his teammate is, which was great. The next round, the fifth round in the European season, it was a 15th position for Kevin Magnussen and 13th for Jolyon Palmer. But then it all went terrible, and much like the Saubers, obviously they didn't collide with each other, I don't mean, they retired in Monaco in the Principality, and it was car failure, but it was maybe that was a balance between car failure and human error, if you like that. But then it wasn't going to get any better, because even though Kevin Magnussen finished the race in 16th in Canada in the 7th round, it was another retirement for Jolyon Palmer. So there he was, obviously he was hitting his Formula 1 chances so far. It was in the next round in the European season in Baku, in the European Grand Prix in Baku, it was a 14th position. It was a 14th position for Kevin Magnussen and a 15th position for Jolyon Palmer. The next round in Austria saw a 14th position for Kevin Magnussen again, and a 12th place, which was very, very strong, by Jolyon Palmer. The next round, which again is the very famous one that me and JT went to go and watch, it was a 17th position for Kevin Magnussen, and there we go. We saw there was 3 British drivers on the grid. As you know, one of them, Jolyon Palmer, didn't finish the race. He retired, which was a real shame from that. Obviously, the next round, Hungary, saw Kevin Magnussen finish in 15th place. Very strong performance again by Jolyon Palmer, but just missing out on the points. And the last round of the first part of the season, we saw 16th position finish by Kevin Magnussen, and a very disappointing 19th finish for Jolyon Palmer. So the season wrapped up. Obviously Kevin Magnussen has points, he has that 7th position. Jolyon Palmer, he's had a few low 10th place, if you get what I mean, if you get that analogy, like 10th place, 11th place, 12th place, 13th place finishes, but it wasn't really that great for them. So we head into the first part of the season in the break, where they can evaluate their performance. They go back to France and they think, what are we doing right, what are we doing wrong? Overall, as a team, I would say that the car was was, probably about a D standard. It was pretty good. Obviously, Kevin Magnussen, I mean, we were all blown away by this performance. Obviously, we loved him at McLaren. Obviously, me and JT, we were obviously, especially JT as well, being a McLaren fan. He was very excited to see Kevin Magnussen back on the grid, and he really performed. So I would say that's a very strong, even a B. I would say a very strong B for Kevin Magnussen. But Julian Palmer, on the other hand, it was a D, but GP2 world champion. He's been given his chance, and again, like that, that reputation, British drivers in Formula 1, he joined Jenson Button and Lewis Hamilton, so he wanted to give it hell for leather. So JT, Renault's performance, and the drivers, and obviously 2 debutantes, let's just call them, how did they get on at the fairly new team, if you'd like to call it that, after the first part of the season?
So, I mean, obviously, it was Renault's 3rd attempt in Formula 1, I believe. Obviously, they've been involved in Formula 1, providing engines, but as a team they have been in and out of the sport several times in the 80s, in the 90s, and now obviously in 2016. But I think it was very, very vital that they got the points, that K-Mag got them points very early on, because in pre-season they knew that their car was not up to scratch, nowhere near where they wanted it to be. So it was vital that K-Mag scored some, or even Julian Palmer, that somebody scored some points so that they can get themselves ahead of the other rivals who they knew they'll be challenging. There's the likes of Sauber and Manor, and they would look at them going, right, their cars are quite quick, they can actually come, we're battling there, we're not battling Toro Rosso and McLaren, we're battling, the Sauber and the Manor, and they don't want to do that. That's Renault. Come on, they've won 2 constructors and 2 drivers world championships, so and they've got a good history in Formula 1, so they don't be battling the teams like them, but unfortunately they are. So I mean, just come back into the first half of the season, the performance, it was there. It was just trying to, that last push to get the points, it just wasn't enough really for Renault. I mean, Julian Palmer's performances at the Hungarian Grand Prix, famously, I think it was P10 or P9. He was quite good in the points, and then he span going up. I think it was like turn 6 or something, I think it was. And he span, and I was like, he went from P9 to P14. It was like, no, Julian. Honestly, every Briton in the arena, on the telly, were like, I don't believe I just seen that. But it was very, very good. But I would say overall, I wanted to give it overall performance. I would say performance D. So far, effort, I'll probably give it a D plus, because despite, yes, we have criticised Renault a lot this season, but we can't deny how committed and how ambitious they were to try and push that car further forward. Like the team principal will be saying that we want to give our drivers a chance to have scoring consistent points, battling for Q3, having them good results. I mean, the drivers knew that they weren't going to challenge for podiums; they were nowhere near it. The best they could do was try and score points on a weekly basis. So I mean, coming into the summer break, Renault needed a good second half. They needed to go away, rethink themselves, come back a stronger team, which they didn't do. Unfortunately, Kevin Magnussen had a retirement, which was a spectacular crash going up Eau Rouge. Julian Palmer finished in P15, so not the result Renault wanted, definitely not, nowhere near. At the Italian Grand Prix, K-Mag finished in P17. Julian Palmer had a retirement, so that's a double retirement from both cars in two races. That's not, so Renault will be like, wow, honestly, this is a case of deja vu from the last part of the season. It was really, really bad, but things did look a little bit brighter, because at the Singapore Grand Prix, under the lights, K-Mag finished in P10. Renault finally scored some points. Get in! That was absolutely fantastic for Renault. Massive boost, which is what they needed, because obviously Manor had scored some points, so they were a threat. Sauber at the time, they were nowhere near a threat, so they can pretty much calm down about that. They got enough points to be ahead of those two, very comfortably. At the next Grand Prix in Malaysia, Julian Palmer finally got off the board and scored his first points of his career and of the season. So I'm just going to quickly stop there, because I'm going to ask LC this. Renault had 2 retirements from 2 different cars, then they had 2 points scored again from both different cars. So do you think that was a positive thing to look at? That that the performances is there. Look, come on guys of F1. This is Renault. We can push for points. Or do you think that them 2 points scored were actually quite lucky for Renault.
Obviously, they are making progress. It's absolutely great to see. Now they were on a storm, and I mean they must have just been filled with kind of like, you know, a tiny portion will have been luck, if you like, because I mean obviously, you know, that's it looks in everything, looks in life. But I mean obviously they must have been on a high from that, and it's absolutely amazing to see that they scored points, and then they went and did it again when we were like, you know, this might be a one-time thing. So the one-time thing, when obviously when Renault scored points first time, that might have been when you looked at it and thought, you know, this is only going to happen once, but then it happened again, and it was just such a shock. So I mean, this is amazing. It just fills the drivers with confidence as well, because as we said, obviously with Julian Palmer, he hadn't really had a great first part of the season, you know, being outscored by his teammate, not doing very well, no points. So he needed that, you know, he needed that boost obviously for the team, but obviously you get boost from the team as well. So yeah, but it was really great for them. It headed the next few races obviously would have been great for them on a high, so almost cloud nine for like Kevin Magnussen, if you like.
Yeah, but I mean obviously K-Mag retiring in the Malaysian Grand Prix, which is, I mean, a bit of a kick in the nads, let's say, for Renault at the Malaysian Grand Prix. But moving on to Japan, K-Mag finished in P14, Julian Palmer finished in P12. So not as good as points, but better than a retirement, isn't it, Elsie? Even if I do say so myself.
It is.
At the American Grand Prix, getting higher, Elsie. K-Mag P12, Julian Palmer in P13. At the Mexican Grand Prix, not as good. K-Mag P17, Julian Palmer P14. At the Brazilian Grand Prix, Julian Palmer retired, unfortunately, very bad for him. And K-Mag finished in P14. And at the final Grand Prix, at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, K-Mag unfortunately had a retirement, but Julian Palmer finished in P17, rounding off a bit of an average season. Finished the season in P9 in the Constructors with 8 points. So Renault's first season back in Form under the name of Renault. Now, we know that they haven't had a successful start to the V6 era when they were engine suppliers for, you know, like famously Red Bull, who the performance was just not there at all. And then the same again in 2015. Everyone's decided to move away from using the Renault engines and start using the Ferraris and the Mercedes. So Renault first season team as a whole, I would say it wasn't as bad as what I thought it was going to be, judged by pre-season, because let's face it, pre-season was just terrible. Car kept breaking down, there was problems here, left, right and centre. Same in practice, and obviously very similar in qualifying. But when it came to the race, the car did come alive. On the long run, it did perform very, very well. And that's where I'm going to give my first grades. I'm going to give it to Renault first. I'm not going to give it to the drivers first. I'm going to give it to Renault. I'm going to say, effort-wise, a D+. I'm giving them a D+, because, as like I said, on the long run, the car could finish quite high up. It just wasn't... They needed that final bit push, that bit more pace to score points, which is obviously very, very vital. So definitely that. For effort-wise, I'll same again, probably give him a D+ on that. For Julian Palmer-wise, obviously he came under a lot of criticism because he wasn't scoring points. You know, he wasn't being, you know, the guy that everyone thought he was going to be. So I'll probably give him performance E, effort D. K-Mag, on the other hand, coming off obviously 3 years at McLaren, had a drive there. He drove the first race of 2015. Let's not forget that, replacing the injured Fernando Alonso. And since then, he was on the sidelines, so he's coming in fresh, new team, new surroundings. Let's see how he does. I'm going to say performance-wise, probably a C. I'll probably say performance-wise, because K-Mag did the better of the results than Julian Palmer. K-Mag scored 7 points. Julian Palmer only scored the 1 out of the team's 8 points. And effort-wise, same again. I'll probably give him a D, D/E on that note. So LC, Renault, performance, effort. What do you think?
Now Renault, yeah, they've performed. They have loads to live up to, obviously, from what they've had before. But yes. Yeah, it's been obviously the first part of the season was very, very strong for them. Obviously for Kevin Magnussen as well, getting points. But then they headed into that, and obviously that getting double points in the team in 2 different races. That was really great from them. It was unbelievable to see. I even remember when we did the reviews of the race or the next debate shows, and we were talking about that. We were just like, the first time was like, wow, and the second time was just that was just like, I'm dreaming here. That was unbelievable. That was like seeing something unbelievable. Yeah. Like when Max won his first race in Spain with Red Bull, and obviously we'll get to that obviously down the line when we do Red Bull. But absolutely amazing from them. So yeah, let's jump into the review, to the report cards. And I'm going to start with Kevin Magnussen. Kevin Magnussen is doing really, really well. So the car, I'll say the second part, the car has definitely improved. It might have also been the driver and the team and the morale that just gave the impression. But I feel like the car did improve. So I'm going to say the car was around a D. So overall, I'm going to give the car just a solid D, really. D plus if you like. The performance of Kevin Magnussen again was very strong. So I'm going to give him a D. Overall, it's a C, I'd say, for him. Julian Palmer, very strong. His effort-wise has definitely improved. He's getting confident. I mean, that's the thing that I think Julian really needs. As I say, he's a young driver in Formula 1. He's not experienced in Formula 1, but obviously he's experienced in motor racing, being GP2 world champion. That's definitely something he has to live off. And obviously, a lot of drivers on the grid so far, like Romain Grosjean, have won the world championship in GP2. Many will be coming through, like we've seen Pierre Gasly. Obviously, he won it the other day. He won it obviously when the season closed in Abu Dhabi. Possibly he could be in Formula 1 in the next few years. So obviously GP2 is a massive heritage, is Formula 1. So that's a massive thing for him to live off. But Julian Palmer, anything to fill him with confidence has, and that points finish for the team as well, and securing 9th position. And I know JT at the start of the episode said that obviously with their massive legacy, they've won 2 Constructors World Championships, they've won 2 Drivers World Championships in the ship of Fernando Alonso. They don't want to be battling Sauber and Manor and hopefully catching a new and inexperienced team like Haas. But I'd say it's very good for them. So JT there, I'd say have they ticked the box of, have they impressed me, and have they impressed you, and have they impressed the F1 debate show? I would say, well, they've definitely impressed me. Have they impressed you? Would they tick that box?
Fairly average, I would say. I would tick that box. I would say we have given Renault a lot of criticism this season in the F1 debate show, but overall, on an honest, serious opinion, I think Renault, the future is looking good because they're bringing in Nico Hülkenberg, replacing Kent Magnussen. So they've got a strong lineup in Julian Palmer and Nico Hülkenberg, 2 very quick drivers, 2 drivers who one day hopefully might reach the top. Who obviously only future will tell. So, and Renault have been saying that their package next season is going to be strong, as we all know. Wider tyres, more aerodynamics as well, more horsepower we believe from the engines, louder noises. So everything is looking good. Let's hope Renault can add to that excitement. But I think this season, I think it is a want to forget, because again Renault don't want to be there. But I think next season, I believe I will be definitely ticking that box again, LC, for sure.
Next season will be good as long as you have a good season, a bit like how when we move into Haas tomorrow, obviously hopefully they will as well, but if you have had a good season to kind of springboard, that's it JT, they have built themselves a diving board that they're going to bounce themselves, or a trampoline even, or something springy anyway, that they can bounce off into next season, into the winter break, I say into pre-season. Obviously get Nico on board, work well with him, and next season should be absolutely amazing. And technically, if you like, I mean, I know Nico's been there been in Formula 1 for a long time at different teams, but technically, because Julian Palmer's been at Renault before and Nico hasn't, Julian is head of the team. So I've got to say, that's another, Julian could live off that, a bit like how Valtteri Bottas will when Lance Stroll comes in. Julian Palmer will be the head of Renault, so obviously that'll be really good. But I mean, that's the thing. I think they've ticked it for me anyway, but can they do it next season? I really hope they can. Anyway, so thank you very much for watching our review of 9th place Renault. Tomorrow is 8th place Haas, the team from the United States, who have they impressed, have they not? Well, you'll have to, there's only one way to find out, guys, and that is to watch tomorrow's episode. So thank you very much for watching it so far, the episode today, and we hope you keep watching. So thank you very much, guys, and we'll see you tomorrow.
See you later, guys.